Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Again, welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. Today, we're talking Utah Utes football. We got Sammy Moore here who covers the Utes for 24/7 Sports. Sammy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. We're inching closer and closer to football, which means things are getting better and better each day.
Absolutely. I can't wait for football season to start. All the off-season drama and rumors and all that stuff. It's all over. Now it's time to get down to some real football that we can talk about that happens on the field. So before we get started, everybody, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in the comments, and always hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insider content comes out. First things first. Look, I'm going to get it out of the way, Sammy. Everybody's probably wanting to know, how is the Utah offense coming along during camp?
Well, so the thing is we have to base like our analysis of the offense based off of what the coaches and the players are telling us.
Sure.
Fall camp at Utah is completely closed to the media. Like,
Right.
We don't get any viewing periods or anything. So, yeah, it's been good. I've heard, Kyle Whittingham said day one of camp that, the offense there was big strides, which, a lot of people don't realize that like getting personnel on and off the field is a big thing in football. And Kyle was saying that they were getting guys on and off the field in good time. Everything was working. And so I think that's a positive sign. We've heard a lot of good things out of Utah's first scrimmage last weekend. Devin Dampier talked highly about Tobias Merriweather, Larry Simmons, the pair of transfer receivers that Utah brought in after the spring portal window. And so I think, a lot of the stuff about the offense is what we're hearing from players and coaches. It's just kind of, you're going to have to read between the lines and stuff like that. We did learn, Kyle Whittingham did say that this is a no huddle, tempo, RPO spread offense. So that sounds completely different than what Utah has had in the past, which honestly is highly encouraging. I think I'm excited to see it. I know we saw a little bit during spring and stuff, but obviously everyone is still learning about it and learning the offense. So there was some bumps, but now that they've had, we're in August, so probably 8 months to learn everything. It's running a lot more efficiently from what we've heard from the coaches and the players.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things, Utah's kind of been one of those programs that kind of the bread and butter. Obviously, they've had some good quarterbacks, don't get me wrong, but an aggressive, physical type of football team.
Yeah.
And what I would caution Utah fans is, just because, maybe it's up-tempo, no-huddle type of offense, I wouldn't suspect that they're going to get too far away from still being that physical football team because, Sammy, in my opinion, first of all, I think you have the best player in the Big 12 Conference and maybe in the country. That's number one. But number two, I think they have the best offensive line, again, in the Big 12 Conference and maybe in the country. So saying all of that, I don't think you want to stray too far away from that. Even though you want to get in and out of the huddle, get a lot of plays, move fast, still be physical. And you can absolutely do that even though you're moving at a quicker pace.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And this offense will still be a run-first offense. It's still going to be a run-heavy offense. Wayshawn Parker, Nakari Rogers, Bryce Duke, Daniel Bray, I think those are going to be your four running backs that you see the most of. Even Kyle Whittingham said on Monday that Nakari and Wayshawn are interchangeable at the one, which I think is, that's good to see from those two. It's going to be a run-first offense. I think, honestly, it's going to be, if right now, I would say it's going to be 60-40 run to pass. But, Devin Dampier he's a good quarterback. He's smart. He knows how to make good plays with the ball. He's been in this offense for over a year now. And, it's going to be run RPO, QB option, QB read, stuff like that. And so I think, it's going to be fun to watch. I think that the way that the Utah defensive players have described this offense is like high energy. You don't know what to expect. It's very different than what, a lot of colleges run nowadays. And so I think, reading between the lines about all these things, what all these players and coaches have said, there's a lot to possibly be excited about with this Utah offense. Obviously, the biggest thing is keeping everyone upright and vertical and healthy. But if everyone stays healthy, this offense could be one of the funner ones to watch in the country.
Right. So, let's speak a little bit about, and I believe his name is Spencer Fano. Is that correct?
Spencer Fano.
Let's talk about him a little bit. Like I said, I just mentioned him being the best player in the country. I don't shy away from that, Sammy. I don't. I know everybody wants to say quarterbacks and receivers and all that kind of good stuff. Look, I'm an old offensive lineman, and when I see good offensive line play, I kind of know it. And I firmly believe that he is the best college football player in the country. Now, granted, he's not going to win the Heisman because he plays offensive line, but I think he's the best college football player in the country. And I think there's an outside shot he may be the number 1 draft pick come next April. I don't.
That's a hot take. I've seen Spencer go up 5, but I have not seen anyone say he's going to go number 1.
Here's the thing when it comes to that. A lot of teams took quarterbacks this year, and who knows how many teams are going to need a quarterback next year. There's also plenty of teams that need a left tackle. And I think the guy, you put him in, start from day one, he's there a decade. So there's that. But having said all of that, how good is this guy?
Well, I don't think it's just Spencer. Like Spencer is insanely good. Like he came in and started playing as a true freshman. He was freshman All-American, and he had some good moments his freshman year, but typical freshman, there were some growing pains and stuff. But the amount of growth that we saw from Spencer from the end of his freshman year to the start of last season was insurmountable. Like he looked like a whole different player. I'm not saying that he was freshman All-American obviously before, so he was good,
right.
But he just elevated his game to the next level this year. And Utah, I don't know if it's across the country, but at Utah specifically, you tend to see the biggest growth in these players between their freshman and their sophomore year.
Right.
And Spencer was that guy. Spencer was good last year, but then he ended up being I think I was doing research for a PFF story that we ran on Ute Zone, and if I remember correctly, he was the highest graded PFF returner in the entire Big 12, higher than Sam Leavitt, who is the highest rated quarterback returning in the Big 12. He's insanely good, and the thing is he's only a junior. He could go to the NFL, and and Spencer. The other thing that doesn't get talked about a lot is Spencer is also an insanely good person off the field. He is always talking to people. He's always meeting with people. He'll take pictures with fans if they see him. I remember at Big 12 Media Day, there was a bunch of us that were trying to do a one-on-one with him after he left Radio Row and stuff. And he came up and he dapped up all of us and had a little conversation with all of us. He's not only a killer on the football field, but he is such a good person off the field. And I think, the offensive line, obviously it starts with him. I think he is, like you said, probably the best guy on this offensive line. But if you look at the other 4, they're not too shabby either. You have Caleb Lomu, who's on the other end of the line at right tackle. He's also projected to be a first-round draft pick if he has another great season. And another kid who, he's a redshirt sophomore now, sat out his freshman year, learned the playbook, developed under Jim Harding, took over at right tackle last year, had a great season. And again, we're expecting a big growth from him this season as well. Tanoa Togiai is one of the interior guards. He was rated one of the best guards in the country, according to PFF. He's played a lot of meaningful football for Utah. Jaron Kump at center was just named to the Remington Award watch list. He is a good guy, as a good player as well. And then Michael Mokafisi, who missed the entirety of last season, or a good majority of last season with an injury, but he played some high-level football going back to his freshman year. He was playing on the interior of the line his freshman year, and he had one of the best blocks I've ever seen. I still think about that block. He just absolutely demolished this defensive tackle. It was fun to watch. And so, all 5 of those guys have played a lot of football together. And that's great, especially when you have a new offense like this. And, Devin Dampier has talked about how these guys are his guys. He takes them out to dinner very frequently. Jaron Kump even said during his media availability earlier this week, he said, knowing that our guy behind us takes care of us, we're going to do everything we can to take care of him. So it's there's just this from top to bottom, this Utah offensive line is just, it's probably the group that I feel the most confident about as the season starts.
Right. Yeah. Like I mentioned, I firmly believe if it's not the best offensive line in the country, there's not three better than they are. I don't believe that. I just think they're very, very good, and it would be smart to lean into that. And I'm not saying anything that Utah fans and especially coaches don't already know.
Yeah.
Taking a look at last year, do the fans, coaching staff, and everybody look at last year as being, Sammy, more of a fluke type of season? Now, granted, you got to go out on the field and prove it, and they'll obviously get their opportunity. But do they look at that more of, you know what, that was just a little speed bump, a blip onto what this program really is? Or is there fear, hey, if we don't get this thing fixed right now, this could be a trend?
I think it kind of depends on who you're talking to. I think a lot of people think, injuries were a big thing that hampered last season and the year before. It was injuries that kind of derailed everything. Then you add in the aspect that Andy Ludwig's offense last season, it was always joked that, it takes 2 to 3 years to learn it. It takes 2 to 3 years to process it and learn how to do it because it's that complicated and that complex, and so there was that was in there. And, Isaac Wilson took over as a true freshman when Cam Rising went down. He was good for 2 games and then the wheels started to fall off quickly. And so I think, there's a lot of things that go into it. I think some fans are thinking like, yeah, if this Utah team stays healthy last year, they're probably contending for a Big 12 championship and they're probably contending for a playoff spot if everyone stays healthy. But then on the flip side, it's like, okay, well, something had to give, I think. And because either if Cam would have been gone either way after last season. And then Utah kind of probably would have been in a situation this year with Andy Ludwig with a quarterback that has never played a live snap except for garbage time in this system. And, it was just a snowball effect, I think, honestly. And so some fans are like, maybe Utah really has like kind of started a downward trend, but then some fans are like, new offense, new quarterback who knows the system inside and out and kind of knows everything. And there's a lot more optimism and hope for this season. So I think, it's kind of a mix depending on who you talk to and stuff.
Sure.
I know that the players said that last year was not the standard, and they're angry and they want to get out there and right the ship and prove that, last year was so to speak a fluke. But I think, fans, coaches, everyone else, I think is just kind of like, well, we'll just like, we need to see how this year plays out, because 1 year is a fluke, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, then that's starting to get into a coincidence. And then there's conversations about, changes, upper level changes on the football program.
Gotcha. So flipping over to the defensive side of the ball, Utah was still really good last year. A lot of people don't understand that, and maybe, complimentary football, Sammy, is a real thing. Yeah. And I don't think enough people understand that Utah had a really good defense, but when you're out there all the time, it wears on you, and even in that, they were still really good.
Yeah.
But there are talks that this defense could be better than last year. Sammy, talk about that a little bit.
Well, and I think, like, I've said this many, many, many times since last season ended, is that Utah's defense kept them in as many games as physically possible.
Right.
There's quite a few games that pop into my head as games that, like, the defense had put them in a position to win and the offense just couldn't do anything. I think the BYU game is a big one. And I think the thing is with the defense is, like, you could tell, especially towards the back end of that BYU game, that they were getting gassed because they would go out and get a 3-and-out or a short drive for BYU, and then the offense would immediately have a 3-and-out, and they'd be right back out there. So I think that, that's the defense got gassed, and with an offense that can put together long, sustained drives, it's going to take a lot of pressure off of them. But it's interesting to talk about if this defense could be better because, they retained a good majority of their core from last season. Lander Barton is back, and like Lander didn't play well in the front half of the season, but the last 4 games he really started to play like the Lander that fans know. He was coming off of a broken foot that he had during the 23 season, and he was still like not up to 100% until the back half of that season. And now he's back to 100%. he is excited. He wants to get back out there. He's ready to go and all these things. So I think Lander's a key part of this defense. Levani Damuni missed the entirety of last season with a torn Achilles. He's back. He's one of the Colton Swan referred to him as one of the most experienced linebackers in the Big 12 because Levani's been in college football for, I want to say 6 years now. Like
Right.
he's one of those older guys on the team. He's back. He's back to 100%. Teo Johnson could have taken his talent to the NFL just like Lander, opted to come back for another year. He's going to be that core in the safety room. Rabbit Evans really picked up speed towards the end of last season after transferring from a JUCO. He's going to be Teo's partner in the backfield. Smith Snowden, obviously everyone knows Smith Snowden plays nickel. He'll probably play a little bit on the outside this year as well. And in a surprising Kyle Whittingham move, he announced at Big 12 Media Days that both Lander and Smith will be seeing time on the offense as well. Lander at tight end and Smith at slot. So again, it's a big thing of getting the playmakers on the field. And then, Logan Fano, Spencer's older brother, leading that defensive end room. Scooby Davis on the outside. So there's a lot of key pieces that are coming back. I think, people are still concerned about the outside corner spot opposite Scooby. There's been a battle going back to spring for that final spot. And it looks like Blake Cotton, he's a UC Davis transfer, has finally started to pull away. Long guy, 6'3", good range of motion. He's a good guy. He was someone that we were at Utes were really, really, really bullish on when he joined the program. And even after spring ball, he was who we thought was going to end up winning the job. And so it's really encouraging to hear Kyle Whittingham say he's finally started to pull away. And then the only other question that people have is defensive tackle. Utah lost a lot at defensive tackle at the end of last season, but you have 3 returners that are going to be playing majority of the time. It's Aliki Viamahi, Dallas Vakalai, and Jonah Lea'ea. All 3 of them have been in the program for a couple years now. If you remember, Dallas really was a true freshman last year and really started picking up speed towards the tail end of the season. So those 3 are going to be the 3 that they rely on the most. But there's a couple of young defensive tackles that are coming up that are contending for that 4th defensive tackle spot that Utah likes to use. Pupu Sepulona, who's a 4-star from Hawaii. He's very young in football. He played basketball and volleyball, only been playing football for a few years, ended up being a late bloomer, 4-star prospect by 24/7 Sports. Was not here for spring football, but he really has shown out the last few weeks. And Carson Kafusi, a local kid, 6'5", big guy. Football family. Kafusi, if you don't know, in Utah, the Kafusi family is a big football family. Okay. And Carson's now at Utah. And so he's also been in that contention for that 4th defensive tackle spot. So, outside of that 1 corner spot and then the D tackle 4 spot, it's pretty stable in this Utah defense. And I think, there's a lot of optimism that this defense could be better than what they actually were last year.
Right. Which again, like I mentioned, complementary football is a real thing. If they can get that, that's one of the things for me anyway on why I think it could be better, because while it was really good last year, you start, offense is going on 6, 7, 8, 9 play drive, all that kind of stuff. It just gives that defense even more time to rest, to be even more explosive than what they were last year.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was like, if you look back at Utah's Pac-12 championship years in 2021 and 2022, they were putting up long offensive drives, and that was allowing the defense to do what they needed to do. And I think that, when I said that the Utah offense is going to be like a no huddle tempo, like Kyle Whittingham said, they're still going to snap the ball with time left on the shot clock. They're not going to get up there and immediately snap the ball. Like, they're going to see what the defense is giving them, adjust for it and stuff like that. And so I think, there is a possibility that this offense could put together those 5, 6, 7, 8-minute drives. And that's going to take a lot of pressure off the guys on the defense. And, this is a very veteran heavy defense. And I know that there's a lot of these upperclassmen who want to go out on the right way. They didn't want to go out last season with a 5-7 record and not a bowl game. They want to go out in a winning way. They want to, whether it be hoisting a Big 12 championship, whether it be making it to the playoffs, whatever it is, they want to be in that winning way, because Utah has tasted it very recently and they want to be back there.
Sure. Sure. It makes a whole lot of sense. And speaking of getting back there, looking at the schedule, it's not easy. It's not easy.
No, it's not.
The first off, and maybe I'm underselling it. I don't know. I don't think the first game at UCLA, well, at least initially, I didn't think that was going to be that difficult of a football game. As it's getting closer, I start looking at the spreads, and maybe I'm letting that affect my judgment and what I think, because I see 3.5 and I'm like, Utah's better than UCLA, man. They just are. But I don't know. I think that first game, again, new offense, all that stuff, new communication in getting out there. Maybe it'll be a little bit tougher. But you get past that, but then it doesn't even get any easier once you get into conference play. You got Tech, Arizona State, at BYU, which is the very next week after Arizona State, at Baylor, Kansas State. I mean, that's basically 5 of the 7 teams that people think can win the Big 12. Utah's one of those teams. So obviously you can't play them. I mean, they're playing everybody basically except for Iowa State. Very difficult schedule, Sammy.
Yeah. Well, I will say the line and the spread has moved for the Utah UCLA game. It is now 6.5 for Utah.
Okay, good. She's killing me.
It's now 6.5. It shifted like 2 weeks ago, I want to say. It shifted to 6.5. But yeah, this it was rated one of the toughest schedules in the Big 12 according to CBS Sports. Like, it is insanely hard how scheduled this is. You start off with UCLA, which you don't know what UCLA is going to look like with their new quarterback and whatever, all the stuff that's going on with Nico and stuff. Like, early reports are saying that he's good and he's doing good in practice, but again, like, I think we all know practice and a live game situation are 2 completely different situations. Absolutely. And it's not like Utah hasn't played in the Rose Bowl. Like, Utah and UCLA obviously were in the Pac-12 together for so many years. So Utah's played there. They've played in the Rose Bowl game twice. So it's like, it's not like it's a new environment they're going into. It's not like that Florida game a few years ago where it was the season opener on the road at Florida in an environment you've never been in 145 million degree weather with humidity, it seems like. And so I think there's that sense of familiarity that there is that, this is a place we've been to. This is a place that we know. And, it is a completely different team than the teams that Utah played in the Pac-12 era, but, same environment, same things like that. So I think I'm excited for that game because also nobody knows what this Utah offense is going to look like.
Right.
You put UCLA on their heels fast and then you're off to the races. I'm not saying you need to open up the entire playbook week 1, but, it's good that no one knows what Utah's offense is going to be bringing into this game. And then you have Cal Poly and Wyoming to round out non-con. And I think both of those games are very winnable. I hope that we don't see Devin Dampier in this one offense past halftime in both of those games.
Right.
But yeah, Tech to open Big 12 play is very the Big 12 didn't do Utah any favors, like, at all with that. And the thing is I want to see how Tech actually plays. Like, I know on paper, everyone thinks that they're going to be this great team. They're going to be contending, all these things. But with the amount of transfers they brought in, I want to know how the chemistry is and if they're gelling and what's going on. Because on paper, they could win the national championship on paper. Right. But, when the play is happening, how is it going to be? And I think that, Utah fans are excited to have Tech at home. It's a game at Rice-Eccles. Rice-Eccles is looking forward to that game. And I think if this Utah offense comes into that, or this Utah team is as a whole comes into that game 3-0, I think that Utah fans are going to be really excited for it because, if the offense is clicking, if the offense is doing what they're doing, if the defense is playing at a high level, fans are going to be bought in early. Yeah, that's going to be a big test right out the gate. But at the same time, if you lose that game and Tech goes on to be what we think they are, that loss it's not going to hurt. It's not like you lose to a team that ends up being like 1-11 or whatever.
Correct.
If they're good, then that's going to help. It's not going to hurt as much. Arizona State I'm interested to see how they are as well. Scadaboo did a lot for that team. So how are they going to, react from that? So I think that's one that I'm interested in. BYU, like, the thing is with that is, like, no matter who everyone thinks is going to win that game always goes down to the wire no matter what. I I've lived here my entire life. I have been around this program since I was a tiny little tot. Like, I know that whatever you think is going to happen in a Holy War, it won't happen. It'll be something completely different. And so I think, and especially with BYU's quarterback situation they have going on right now, like, no one knows what this offense is going to look like with either Bear Bachma or McKay Hillstead or whoever wins the starting job, And then Baylor's a tough one, but again, it's kind of like UCLA. Utah played at Baylor 2 years ago in non-conference, and it was hot. It was like, I remember players saying their cleats were melting and stuff. It's not going to be that hot, hopefully, in October when they go there. And if Baylor's a good team, like, I think Utah could beat them. Utah has what it takes to beat them. Utah, if we're going to be technical, I think this is a bold take, and everyone's probably going to like comfort me with this. I honestly think Utah could win if Utah stays healthy and does what they need to do. There is a chance Utah could win every single game on this schedule. Every single team on this schedule is beatable, in my opinion.
Sure.
But it's just a matter of health, how the offense is producing, and any other exterior factors that are going on to this team. And then you mentioned K-State, like, that's another team that I think could contend for a spot in the Big 12 championship and maybe even further than that. And again, it's at home. So Utah gets the benefit of having Tech, Arizona State, and K-State all at home, all at Rice-Eccles, where historically, outside of last season, they've played really, really, really well.
Right.
And if they're winning, or if they're ranked or whatever, fans are going to be there, and it's going to be a volatile environment. Rice-Eccles is very underrated in terms of like how loud and how crazy that stadium can get when they're winning and when it's going. Like, I remember the Utah USC game in 2023 where Cam Rising had the touchdown and the 2-point conversion to win. I have never felt the stadium get that loud in my entire life. It gets to the point where the press box is shaking and everything.
Sure.
Like, Rice-Eccles is that environment, and it is hard to play it. It is, as much as people are like, oh, it's a small stadium, it's not anything. It's a bowl. That sound stays in there. Like, it is loud. So I think, having those three at home is, it's a benefit. I think that would help Utah, I think. So it's not easy. It's not an easy schedule in and of the slightest. Like, it's not. It's rough. It's rough out here.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough schedule. The one thing I would say about it, though, if they, manage the schedule and they can get through it with a loss or two, I don't think there's any question whether they win the Big 12 title or not. I would think, now, again, we don't know how the voting is going to go, but if Utah can get through with 1 or 2 losses, even if they don't win the Big 12, I got to believe with this schedule that would get them into the college football playoff. Now, granted, it's going to depend on who they win and lose to and all that kind of stuff. And we're getting up way ahead of ourselves talking about 1 or 2 losses. Let's have them beat UCLA first. I get all of that, but, it's a schedule that it's challenging, but it's also a schedule, Sammy, that if they can manage it, it's going to set them up for even greater things down the road. So I'm excited to see this season play out for Utah.
100%. And I think that, I know people talk about brands and stuff when it comes to the college football playoff and stuff like that. Like, well, what is their brand and stuff? Like, Utah's known for being a tough-nosed, bring-your-lunch pail type of program on both sides of the ball. And I think that that's, despite – Utah wasn't ranked in the AP top 25. They still received votes. That still shows that there is some faith in Utah despite what happened last season.
Right. I think there needs to be a little bit more respect on Utah this year. In the Big 12 as a whole, I saw some of those rankings and I'm like, Jiminy Christmas, what are we doing here? But that's a different conversation for a different day.
There's a lot I could say on that front.
Right.
But.
So I appreciate you, Sammy. Thank you for giving us your time today. I know we'll be talking later on in the season as this season plays out. So thank you again.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. And thanks everybody again for tuning in. Remember, like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.